We started the 3-day cycle race in 1987, and it's still running 35 years later. So I think that stands the test of time. Amazing. Well, the 3-day stage race started off really as a race for second cat riders, but also we felt that the prize money was very poor in races at the time, and we wanted to put something back into the race for the riders more than anything else. And we spent a lot of effort to gather a lot of money up through our company and through our sponsors. And we felt we always treated the riders very well, prize money wise. And I think that's what it really was, just to put something back into the sport. This is the only stage race left in Ulster at the minute, so it's important that it's kept going as long as Drew keeps it going.
I'm Drew McKinley, race promoter, director, secretary, basically do all the admin paperwork for Newry Wheelers and for the Newry Wheelers 3-day. I've been involved in running the race since 1987 or something. I know I was only a kid, but I was doing something then. I have memories of it going on then. It's very much ingrained in the family and the blood, as they say, you know, so.
Mark McKinley, the youngest of the McKinleys. Drew's brother, he runs the race now more so, does all the work up into it. Dad is the one who founded the race, Mum and Dad. I think they told you it's 35 years, but it's actually 36 years going, because Mum was pregnant with me and it was only a couple of weeks before it. I was born in July and the race was ran in end of May. I don't even know how she'd done it.
I was playing the wheelers since I was 9 or 10. I was involved in cyclocross or mountain bike. I remember doing the wee races out in Cabroni Park. Funny enough, the other day my mum pulled out some school report from when I was in P6 about my first cyclocross race to Bangor. I remember doing it. So yeah, I've been in the wheelers since I was about 9 or 10 years of age, on and off for my whole life basically, you know.
I remember one year watching the Tour of Ulster coming into Warren Point, finishing at Warren Point, and I was down the town with Paddy, my wife, and I think we had Drew and Jennifer at the time, and Jennifer was only a baby, and I said, oh, I'd love to try that sometime. That looks an easy sport, you know. Never dreamed that how hard it was. I raced John Newry Wheelers and did a race and enjoyed it. It was good, but I realised as well the problem was that we were racing against first cats all the time, and we were never getting results, and I decided let's run a second cat race, so that's how it started really, you know.
Cycling, people, their first race to know was the Tour de France, but for me it was the McKinley 3-day. This whole thing came into our house one weekend of every year, and there was officials running around the house and Mum making sandwiches for everyone, people staying in our house. As soon as the race finished, Dad had the race organiser head on again and running around the house. It was pretty crazy.
When I ran the race at the beginning, I sponsored it, I organised it and I rode the race. It was the McKinley 3-day for the first 11 years that I ran it, and then it was changed on to the next sponsor was FPM, and they ran it for I think 5 years. Then we decided then, even when I went back to run it, we decided to make it just a Newry 3-day and then take our sponsors in, which I think is a better way of doing it anyway. But some people still call it McKinley 3-day, believe it or not, after at the time. Some of these people weren't even born then, which is very strange.
When I hear that, I think that's pretty cool, because it hasn't been called the McKinley 3-day for years, but people still go, oh yeah, the McKinley 3-day, and like, when I hear that I was like, Jesus, how the hell did my dad get time to start this race?
It was probably a nightmare to get it off the road and get it started. We didn't have police motorbikes in those days, so we were just dependent on marshes, static marshes. We used to run around Warren Point town on a Friday night, which was another nightmare, trying to get the traffic and everything. But in those days you didn't have the same amount of traffic, but you know, it was still busy, but it was a big crit for the night. Great stage. The stages were slightly shorter, maybe 60 miles. Went into the Mourns, we did the Cooley Mountains and stuff. Yeah, good racing, but I remember it was always hard. I know that. You know, the stages were made really that you would have climbing, but when I did it, because I wasn't a great climber, I used to put the climbs near the end rather than the beginning of the races. So it meant if you did get dropped, you'd only had 30 miles to go to get home, so it wasn't the end of the world, or 20 miles to go to get home. But now sometimes you see stage races and the climbs in the first 10 mile, which isn't too pleasant if you're not a great climber.
Well, that's what I like to do with the race. Sometimes you do other stage races in Ireland, it's the same route for the last 10 years or whatever. I like to change it about. Last year we finished up Spelga, so all the wee light juniors were rubbing their hands. And this year I sort of changed the dynamic of the route, a bit more challenging, up and down, twisty, turny, and just to give a good race. And if you keep one route the same, the race will be the same every year. And it'll not be the same next year, it'll be different again next year. Hopefully, I actually was out on my bike this morning and been thinking about it already, so I like to change it up, you know.
I always feel the Friday night is a great stage. It's a real spectacle, and it's really a big finish, and it's the whole buzz of getting on the road and everything about it. Just it really is. That's what makes the whole race. Just it's always hard racing. It's just a special race, and I think as well because it's a second card race, that a lot of guys are very evenly matched. You don't have an outstanding first card rider coming in and riding away from people. So it's a more even matched pace of racing all around.
This year's 3-day was pretty exciting. The Friday night was on the dual carriageway. A lot of people say, oh, the dual carriageway, but I tell you, it was good racing. And then we hit grinding road, so that added to the element of the shock to the system. Your heart rate's hitting well into the 180s, going up it and down the other side, whether you get back on, whether you don't. So the Friday night was a good stage. And then the Saturday stage was up around South Armagh, which we haven't been in South Armagh for a long time. It worked well. It was a big loop, 20-mile loop, so it was great racing all day. And the wee boy O'Brien, Newry Wheelers, took the stage. I think he was only 17, so that was a fantastic stage too. And the two girls, Jennifer Neen from UCD, she won the stage, and Gemma took the yellow jerseys, which was good. We set it up for Refrain Hill. And then the Sunday stage, we did the big loop, Castle Allen, round Refrain. We're actually over Refrain 5 times, so it was exciting because some of the stronger ones were making you hurt, and then you had to chase them down the other side. So it was good racing, and I was still scratching my head for the Sunday route there about 6 weeks ago, and I says, no, let's do Refrain. As much as I don't like going up hills myself at that intensity with youngsters, Refrain, and I thought it was a great spectacle on Sunday. I think the crowds came out and enjoyed it, and the fact that they came up 5 times, so I think it really added to the race. Yeah, the two strongest riders in the race, one is in Ocean Faraday from Caldwell Cycles and Gemma from Cycling Ulster. I think they were the best 2 riders in the race and deservedly came home with the yellow jerseys, you know. I seen an opportunity when the police pulled their resources. I seen an opportunity for a women's race. In my mind it was easier, but it's not. It's very difficult, but we were striving. We had 4 or 5 real good women racers, and I just felt it's time we should give them something to aspire to. I'd like to see more tackle it, because I think people are nervous about tackling, but they shouldn't be when you see somebody as gutsy as Roisin taking it on and completing it and finishing with a big smile on her face, you know.
Probably my most memorable tale of the 3 days, my first Newry 3-day. I think it was my second stage race I'd ever done, and I remember I was getting such a hiding. I punctured, it was the last day, I punctured, and I'll never forget, I was out the back minutes and minutes down. My dad was actually doing the team car, and probably about 15 miles to go, I went to climb off the bike, and as I just got off the bike and walked to the car to put my hand on to get in, Dad drove off and says, no, you're finishing, you must finish. And then he radioed through everybody, don't let our Mark into any car. So I had to get back on the bike and suffer on to the, to the finish. So I'll never forget that, because then I only had turned 17, I think. And I was probably second last in the race, and then the next year came out and finished second overall. So Dad was like, he was always like, no, you have to finish when you start, you have to finish and all. But that's, I'll always remember that, trying to get into the car, and the car doors was locked. And see you later, Mark.
Yeah, I think my favourite memory, and for me this personally, just is when Mark won the stage and won the yellow jersey the first night of the race a few years back. There's a lot of really fantastic memories of the race, but that was just personally for me, for him doing that was fantastic, you know. It was great to see it, and he came second one year, but the fact that he won that first stage and got the yellow jersey, it was great to see that.
It was pretty good, because it used to come in through Rowan Point, and I remember always standing watching it in Rowan Point. It was always good. I used to finish where the police station was in Charlotte Street. So it was nice, the team sort of got behind me that night, and we came in, and then just nice to put the arms up, and especially Mum and Dad being there.
I was actually listening to a podcast the other day, and it summed it up lovely. He sort of said, people complain about they don't have time to go cycling or it's too hard, but I find cycling is the most least stressful and the easiest part of my day. Once I'm on the bike, it's just get out there and just enjoy it, and the racing's an added on bonus to that. The biggest thing for me is to see it off safely and smooth running, and I think you don't really get to enjoy the racing as much as you do other races as a sort of an organiser. But I have some great memories of, I remember Mark winning the stage, involved in the team that night. The year Kevin Lynch won it for the first time for the club, it was a massive team effort. And I remember the real good buzz about the place when that happened.
Yeah, it was pretty good to see Kevin win it that year. Like, and all. And Drew's been up overall, and we've had some great results. Alan Bingham's won it since as well, and it's always good to see us do a result in it, because our club mates and people in the club are out giving up their own free time, so you're like trying to, oh, that was worthwhile.
Some great names have won it. When you look back, loads of guys out there that have won this have been brilliant riders. A lot of juniors have won it and gone on to be really good riders. When you go back through the pedigree of the list of names, I mean, you'd be totally shocked at some of the riders that have won it, you know. Anybody can organise a race, but you can't run a race unless the club's behind that and people are behind it. And I mean, we've had people, the guy that's doing the results has been coming to us for probably nearly 30 years now. The same judge has come to us for 30 years probably. And you know something, they all love coming back to that race. There's a good atmosphere about it, there's a good buzz about it. It's not too strict, it's not taken overly serious. That's a big thing about the whole race, that it is still a very friendly attitude about it, and people get on great, you know. So I think it's fantastic they've carried on. I mean, you know, Drew's running it, but Mark takes it off. Most years Mark has done director on the race as well. He's only ridden the race 5 times. So I mean, he's put a lot of work into this race. People don't really see that, but he's put the same amount of work in ways that to let Drew ride the race on the day. That's what it's about. It's just, you know, the boys get on well, they get into it, they get stuck into it and they do it. It's
really class for me racing any time I race with Drew, because the two of us, he's usually organising, then there's years where I've done race director and stuff, and we don't really get to race together that much. And it's nice to race at home in our own race that my dad started, but I love doing that there. And then this year having Matty Kincaid racing was good, because he lived next door to us and knew Matty for so many years, and also it was like nice having him there this year. So it's one of them. The Newry Wheelers 3-day, which a lot of people treating all year from outside other clubs, would not happen without Drew McKinley. Unbelievable. I don't know how he does it. Every year, a couple of days out from the event, I can see him saying, this is the last one, this is the last one. But then when I see him on Sunday evening, every year that was brilliant.
Local roads, local crowds, local people. The club put in a massive shift on the weekend of it. I think the cycling Ulster community realised that. You just need so many people to make it work. Like it's not down to one person, because I would say over the 3 days we had about 150 people involved in the race. We had our drivers, marshals, sign-on, catering. It's just got that big now. It's crazy, the organisation.
I think everyone is proud of it in our club, with Newry Wheelers. Every year they all come out, it's such a special thing. Like a couple of weeks out from the race, you're like, oh, how are we going to get all this? There's so many spots to fill, like it's unbelievable. There's new people coming in the club to do it, but the same faces are still there, and it's brilliant to have.
The best part is when it starts on the Friday night, and when the flag drops and it's going. That's when you feel a bit more relaxed about it. But up until it, no, it's full on. It's tiring. It's, you know, your phone's pinging at 6 in the morning and it's pinging 11 at night.
I mean, there's a lot more red tape now and bookwork and health and safety, which we didn't have. You know, just for example, when we had ran a race and somebody say, well, where's the hills? Well, the hill's about 30 miles out and it's a big hill. And now they want to know, well, exactly what distance the hill is, what length is the hill, what's the gradient of the hill, where's the stop, where's the finish.
I think it's just the satisfaction that it brings, and even when it finished on Sunday, when it was all done and everybody was safe, you had a great race, and you sort of think, job done, that was good, and we were talking about it for a couple of days after. So that's probably what I enjoy more about it, and people saying, oh, well done to the club, and it gives you the confidence to go and do it next year, whereas maybe 2 weeks ago when it was up to my eyes, and paperwork and administration and route marking, if you asked me then, I said, no, this is the last one. But when you come out of the event, you start thinking of next year, you know.
It's been such a good race for people coming through the ranks. We've had Olympians come to the race. You have the likes of the Ross in Ireland, which is set up for the A1 races, or for the A1 riders and stuff, but that really started the Newry 3-day for a race for people to aim for. And it's a snowball. Like, and when I'm at races in March, you hear people talking, oh sure, it's a while of the 3-day yet, like, because that's a lot of the goal is that the Newry 3-day, and it is such a well-run race. You have other stage races with the same calibre as in Gorey, and there's the Corkman 3-day, but for people around here it's all about, they all want to go for the Newry 3-day because you have the 3 good days race and the routes are good and it's safe. It's great to have such a good race on your doorstep. We're so lucky.